Is it made by the Neo people or no?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Neo but worse.
What?
Yeah, it looks less interesting and like less fun than Neo. I don't know what it is about it, but I'm just like, didn't y'all do this twice already? And try harder for those? I don't know. That's how it seems to me, but I haven't played it or anything, so I have like no real opinion.
But you know what they say.
What do they say?
We're back. That's what they said when they made Long. They said we're back
Yeah,
with the third
that was their
Neo
whole
game.
thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I get what you're saying. I thought Neo 1 was okay. It was novel.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
novel. It was like I don't know, like at a time when I think we were more starved for Souls-esque games.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely lacked some combat intensity. I don't know. Everything felt the same. I remember thinking that, like you start out at the beginning, you're like, all right, this feels okay, and then by hour 10, you're fighting the same enemies, and it feels exactly the same. They just hit like a truck
Yeah.
now instead of before. But
Yeah.
I will take one for the team and try Wolong. I'll do that for you.
I mean, yeah. Be my guest.
I don't know. I mean, like other than Monster Hunter, it's not like there's a lot out there. I mean, we could
Uh-huh.
play Diablo 2.
The remaster?
Yeah,
I really want to play that.
I never did.
I've been playing Minecraft Dungeons with people lately. Now that Diablo 4 is gone, I'm like, well, hey, try this not as good game. Are you familiar with it? You're familiar. Or like you know what it is,
Yeah, but
right?
is it out or is it like an early access thing? Why did I think it was like not fully out
Minecraft
yet?
Dungeons?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been out and it's gotten like tons of full DLC releases, like expansions. Like it's super done. Yeah.
Fuck, man, that's wild. It's like
It
a
has an
it's
ultimate edition now that comes with everything.
nice. It's basically just a
Yeah.
Diablo game, right?
Yeah, that's all it is. The key difference I would say is that it is kind of more of like a rogue like Diablo. You don't pick a class. Your loot kind of determines what your class is going to be and like your playstyle basically. And so
Okay.
yeah, so you have three pieces of equipment and then three ability items that you pick up. And so the equipment will have like okay, so you know how when you level up in Diablo, you get the like skill point to go put into the skill tree, and then
Yes.
that
Yeah.
sort of determines things. Well, it's kind of the same way, except you level up your gear, and then so anytime you level up, you get a skill point to put into the gear, and the gear has randomized like skill trees. Basically, is the best way I can think of it. It's just like it has its own little random set of skills it can get because it's very roguelike esque. Um, and so, like, let's say you get a sword, and then this sword has like poison or like looting or like attack speed. And it's like, okay, I can pick one of those and then start leveling that up. And then let's say you find like some daggers, and then those daggers could have its own set of skills. And then you'll find another dagger later with like different set of skills, completely different. And so you kind of just go off of that. Like you find the playstyle you are in the mood for or that you like the most and just kind of stick with that. And you can like level up the gear if you want to keep it. And yeah, it's cool because basically it's like you're getting to play multiple characters without having to make multiple characters, in my opinion. Uh because it's like even when your gear gets out leveled, it's still pretty relevant. Like it's not like it takes a while for you to be stuck with a piece of equipment you like and it become like weak. So you really get to like kind of pick a playstyle after you get enough loot and then just fuck around with a lot of different playstyles, which I think is cool.
So, really quickly, the game I was thinking of is apparently Minecraft Legends,
Okay, yeah, that's not out yet.
which I thought that was the Diablo. So now I'm confused.
No, I don't fully understand what that game is yet.
Got it. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
do you like Minecraft Dungeons? I was waiting for
Yeah.
you to like say, like you were giving me the mechanical breakdown, and I was like, all right, but he's gonna say it sucks. But no, you seem fine with it.
Oh yeah, no, I bought this game day one, like whenever it came out years ago, and I've tried to get more people into it because I feel like it is just like almost similar to Torchlight is not the right way to say it, but it's similar to Torchlight in that it's like just a fun way to experience a Diablo like game without like thinking about it too hard. It's just like you can jump in, play this game, and start having fun with your friends like immediately.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the free game for PS Plus this month, and it's on Game Pass.
Yeah. I could be convinced to try that. Tyler brought up another one yesterday, The Last Epoch, which is apparently
I haven't heard of that.
pretty good. It's in early access on Steam. It's been in early access since like 2018, and I remember. Is that what it's called? What is it called?
The Last of the Mohicans.
Okay, just Last Epoch. So do not type the, because if you do, it will not come up.
Of course.
Thank you, Steam. Yeah, last Epoch. It looks really interesting, and all the reviews are very positive. Apparently, I assume off the back of the Diablo 4 coming soon TM sign hanging off of people's heads right now. They're trying to find any and all action RPGs to play in the meantime. So,
yeah,
Last Epoch has about 16,000 very positive Steam reviews at time of writing.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It looks interesting, mostly because it looks like people who played both Diablo and Path of Exile wanted to make something that's a little bit of both. Like Diablo 3, Path of Exile, kind of in between the two, because a lot of people's complaints about Diablo 3 was that it was too simple, like too mindless. But Path of Exile is the opposite. It's like, hey, brother, how would you like
to be stressed out the whole time?
Yeah, like when you open the skill tree in Path of Exile, you feel what am I thinking of? Existential dread. Like you're like, oh God, how do I even fucking tackle this? Like what was it, the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems interesting, but it's also money. $34. I don't know about $34. No, it's probably worth it.
But to circle back to your original point, I have always wanted to play Diablo 2.
Yeah, I mean, Diablo 2 is a game that I loved a lot as a kid. And I probably was not, I mean, I was definitely not like an intense player, because like I know B-Paul was like all in on like multiplayer servers and kind of gear grinding and all that stuff. I was definitely not that dude, but I did really enjoy playing through Diablo 2 and the expansion. So I feel like I would like to see it again, but my memory of it is that it will be harder to get into now. I don't know. We could do that.
Yeah.
We could do that. Crossley, let's talk a little bit why about why we have to find a new co-op game to play.
We don't have to. There's nothing wrong with Wild Hearts at all. What do you mean?
Uh-huh.
You know, it's sad to see a game fall apart progressively as it goes on. It reminds me a lot of Dark Souls 1, I'm not going to lie. It like really does. It's just like, this is really solid. This is just fucking amazing actually, and then it just goes on and the string holding it together is just being pulled further and further apart.
I'll say this about Dark Souls 1, it never made you replay through hours and hours of content because of one mistake.
Is that a joke?
What do you mean?
It does that by design. Progressively over time.
It's not the same though. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 1 was broken in like a polish and finish kind of way. Like, oh, the edges on this are a little rough and I got a splinter. Wild Hearts is broken like a bridge you can't cross anymore. Like, or more accurately, you crossed the bridge and now you have to cross back over it again.
Yeah. No, it is now it's broken. Really wild. Yeah.
But basically we got to what I would consider probably the first actual hard fight of the game.
Yeah, like really hard. Not like, we can die in any of the hunts if we're, if we make mistakes enough.
Yeah.
But the big boar, I guess, like stuff like that is kind of hard anyway. But this is like, this is like real difficult.
It's like MMO like mechanics, like
skill check.
Exactly. Like your party, you need to be geared out. It's a gear check. It's a skill check. It's a DPS check. Like you really do need to be prepared in order to succeed in that game, in that hunt. And I would say we're probably just inside of the power level recommended. I would be my guess, because I feel like we've done pretty minimal grinding overall. Like it's not like...
Well, I've grinded.
Okay.
In between like our play sessions. So I have the full, like the Ice Wolf, like I had his full armor set and his weapon.
Yeah.
Which was like decent. But yeah, even then it like didn't really, in my opinion, make that much of a difference. It just is a hard fight. Like his attacks would still do like minimum half my health sometimes, and that's like...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it could be elemental differences. I mean, I don't know what element he is,
true.
But I mean,
me either.
There's all that stuff. So, but I mean, pretty challenging fight. Like lots of mechanics to remember. He has probably one of the more complicated movesets of all of the monsters, in addition to the usual kind of 2-phase breakdown where they have like their standard state and their powered up state. And he has just massive AoE like explosions that will one-shot you if you're not paying attention. You know what I mean? Like just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
huge range, huge AoEs, fast as fuck, flies constantly. Yeah, it's like the whole package. And then we're also
it's like
limited.
It's like a phoenix bird.
Right. Yeah, giant phoenix bird. And so we're also limited to the town because it's like a story event where he's attacking our village. So we're stuck in the town where you can't get additional healing as well, whereas normally you're kind of constantly able to get more healing throughout a hunt if you want.
I wonder if we could build something that would help.
That's possible. I have been meaning to check that. It's gotten to the point now, though, because I told you about everything I went through, to where I kind of am just good at the fight now. Like I kind of know his moves, and I know this thing you can build that makes the fight a lot easier.
So I guess we should stop beating around the bush. We knew the game was a little buggy. Like, I mean, on PC, I have what I would consider a pretty high-end machine. I'm running a 3080 Ti and a 9700K i7. So like, processor is getting a little long in the tooth, but overall it's still, I would consider, top end. And that game runs like absolute dog shit on my machine, but I put up with it because I'm an EA Play subscriber, so I just got it as part of that subscription. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go buy it on PlayStation just to have a better frame rate.
Yeah.
So, and we can crossplay. You're playing on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this whole thing fucking weird, is we're on 2 different platforms. We play through, so we try to fight just the 2 of us, and we wipe. We did pretty well, I think, actually.
We had to have almost beaten it. We just fucked up right at the end and literally died like 3 times in a row because we were over it probably, and we're just trying to finish it. But yeah,
it took a really long time, but this is definitely a hunt that I would say works best with 3 people. But it was just the 2 of us. We died. And that was like a 20-minute attempt, I would say, like 20, 25 minutes, maybe slightly longer. It felt long. We decided to jump in and do it again, and this time call for help. So we had a 3rd person. We beat it, I would say, much more easily, but still with a little bit of effort.
Yeah. It was still hard, but we did it. It was like, okay.
Yeah. And then your game crashed.
Yeah.
On PlayStation, and my game crashed on PC.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like the fight's over, the cutscene is loading. Before the cutscene even plays, just black screen and then back to my desktop. Like, kind of crash.
Yeah.
And so we load in and we have to do the fight again.
Yep.
So we're like,
lost your progress.
All right, fuck this for a couple days. So like I backed out, I was like, I'm good tonight. And then, we kind of just let it go for a little bit. And then I brought it up to you last night. I'm like, hey, we should probably do this. And you're like, oh yeah. So tell me what happened to you.
Yeah. So, a buddy of mine hit me up the other day and was like, yo, feel like playing Wild Hearts? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And so we loaded it up. We beat the fucking bird. And then I, went through the cutscene, whatever, blah, 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 talked to all my villagers. They're like, yeah, you beat the bird. And I'm like, yep, cool. And I go to look at the armor and stuff, and the armor's pretty good. So I'm like, fuck it. Let's fight the bird a few more times. Like, let's just go hunt it.
Yeah.
And so we do. I think I hunted it 2 more times. Maybe it was just 1 more, but I think it was 2 more. And then I went to go do it again. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, fuck it. Like, let's just do something else. I'm so tired of this fucking bird. Like, I'm good with the game, but like, let's just hunt something else. And so we back out of the hunt. We just try to go back to the village. Game doesn't crash. Nothing like happens. Game stays loaded. And then go back to the village, and all of a sudden all my progress is gone for that whole play session, basically, as if I had just booted up the game, and I'm back at the point in the village where the monster is ready to be fought in the village. Like, that's where my main quest is. That's where the whole village is and everything. And the guy I'm playing with is ahead of me. So it's not like that glitch happened where you get reset to someone you're playing with's progress, which is another known glitch that happened to me. But yeah, this was just the game fumbled.
So yeah. And we should say this is
I did it again.
This is not the first time that this has happened.
Like, yeah. I've lost progress a handful of times now. Like, I think 3 or 4 times.
It has not happened to me yet, but thankfully. But
yeah,
it has happened before. But this, I mean, I think for us, it continues to show more and more instability and glitchiness in a way that makes me less likely to want to continue playing for now. I mean, I think it's still a really fun game, but it's like, is it really worth having to constantly be worried about a progress reset or like losing something? I mean, it's interesting because you keep all your gear.
Yeah, I'm keeping everything. It's literally only a story progress reset.
Which I guess on the one hand, like some people might be like, oh, well, these games are all about fighting the same monsters over and over again anyway. So like,
Yeah,
why don't you just
it's
fucking
almost honestly not a big deal. Like, actually,
yeah,
I was more upset when the game crashed after we had, you know,
beaten it
been
the first
trying
time?
to get past it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it was like, at that point, the other day when it was me and the other guy playing, it was just like, wow, it was like funny, really. It was just like, wow, this game is so fucking broken, because at that
Yeah.
point I knew I could just beat the bird no problem. So it was like,
Yeah. And now
whatever.
again,
But
we could probably beat it no
right.
problem, but
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
it's just so I think,
It, yeah.
we're
Yeah.
basically at a point now where it's kind of like, okay, should we go and play some other things for a while and wait for them to patch this game up? Assuming that happens. I mean, I guess they could just take the route where they decide they don't want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is kind of how it's just going to be,
Yeah, that's very possible. I mean,
because they're definitely, I mean, it's constantly getting updates. Every single time I turn on my PlayStation, it has a new update and a new monster added. So it's like,
yeah.
they are clearly still giving the game attention. It's just, I don't know.
How far
And
through it
it's
do you
not,
think we are?
I have a pretty solid idea. We're like maybe over halfway, I guess.
Got it.
Like, just barely. I think the bird is like relatively halfway.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of monster variants coming up, but I would say we're like halfway through all the monsters, excluding variants. We've
Okay.
like seen maybe like half or a little over half of them.
And it's funny because even us talking about it right now, I'm like, yeah, it would be kind of fun to like play, like get back in
Well,
there.
I would actually really love to play. That's why when you were like, it's time for us to find a new co-op thing, and I'm like, I don't think it's like that yet, but
Yeah.
I am definitely like, I have, more cons than I did when we started. Whereas
Yeah.
it was like nothing but like, this game is fucking awesome for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, this game has issues that I genuinely can't ignore past frame rate. Like, this is just
Yeah.
fucking broken game.
Like when I started it was like, okay, I can easily look past all the things I don't like. And now it's getting
Right.
more to the point where all those little problems are piling up in a way that makes it less enjoyable to play.
Yeah, for sure. Or more hesitant to boot it up, I guess, even. But yeah.
Anyway, we're back. I didn't do the full intro earlier. You are listening to the Infinite Scale podcast. Of course, we're your usual hosts, William Chandler and Chris Crossley. There's something I want to address at the top here.
Mm-hmm.
We learned this week some very exciting news. We were officially invited to E3. Super stoked to be a part of all of the fun press events. Excited to see all of my favorite companies like Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo at E3 participating for our first E3 as press.
So wait.
Yep.
I actually haven't read the news.
Okay.
I know there's E3 news, but it was like this thing where I pinned the article and never went back to it. So like, what actually happened?
So E3's canceled.
Okay, that's what I thought. A couple weeks ago, I sort of realized like nobody was going to E3, like Sony and et cetera, et cetera. They were all like, nah, fuck that. So I was like, what the fuck is even going to be at E3? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, so the headlines are E3 is canceled, but in reality, I think E3 was just avoided. like the ESA made the choice to cancel E3 basically because there was going to be no industry participation. Like none of the major companies were, and one by one, it started with what? I mean, Nintendo, maybe they've had a booth until 2018 or 2019. I can't recall, but like, you know, it really started with a lot of those major companies. Like Nintendo stopped doing a press conference years and years ago.
And they
Most
started doing their
notably,
treehouse at the exact same time, and then
they did
I think
their
it was
Nintendo
Sony at
Directs.
some point just stopped showing up entirely, right?
Yeah, Microsoft as well. They would have a booth, but they were doing their presentations like off campus and stuff like that. I don't know.
Right.
There was like over the years, it's hard to keep track now because it feels like a million years ago. But over the years, there was definitely less and less participation on the large publishers. I think Ubisoft was the last one that was like really in. And even them this week, they were like, "Yeah, we're not." Before they canceled it, they were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." So
yeah,
it's pretty interesting. I think we just highlighted a very valid point about the pointlessness of E3, which is E3 is a feel good thought in our brains because of bygone eras of like everybody being in one place at one time. But the reality is even the companies that weren't participating in E3 were still doing stuff around E3 in a way that made it hard to separate. So like companies could still just do that again. I mean, they could still try to pile all their announcements in a couple of weeks in June or something like that, and then you get the same feeling.
And I mean, from what I understand, Summer Night Live or whatever, Summer Game Fest or whatever, whatever the fuck, he's gonna call it, is gonna be going, and I mean, all intents and purposes, that's pretty much new E3. Even if like it's not going to be like everybody is here, like all eyes are going to be on those trailers, those reveals, and just games in general that week. So that's the new E3. Even if if people aren't showing stuff at Summer Game Fest, that's still when people are still going to be showing stuff, is around that time. It's just that annual, hey, here's what we got coming time. Like it would be weird if we ever live in a reality where that like week of summer doesn't happen, where we just get a bunch of game trailers and reveals and stuff. Like that's just a part of the culture, and like probably the marketing too now. It's just that is expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny now. You reminded me that Summer Game Fest is a thing, like as you were saying it, and so I went and looked at Jeff Keighley's Twitter account, and on March 30th, which I think was maybe 1 or 2 days after they announced that E3 was done, he tweeted out, "Join together to celebrate what's next in video games. Summer Game Fest returns live Thursday, June 8th." So like, I mean, he's having the time of his life right now.
I know. And I love it, dude.
I wish they had like a schedule for it, because I'd like to see.
I'm sure we'll get one relatively soon. Time's moving so fast right now, and I'm sure he's more or less got a lot of stuff like locked in, at least bigger things. And I'm calling it now. We see Elden Ring DLC trailer and get the release date at Summer Game Fest. It has to be.
It's definitely possible, because hold on, let me go back to his Twitter account. He tweeted also March 30th, live tweeting from BAFTA Games with a friend, and it's a selfie of him and Hidetaka Miyazaki, most notably known as the president of From Software, and the creator of Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. So, I would say
Rabbi Reformed.
What's that?
Rabbi Reformed.
You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
No, it's okay. That's a meme from the Game Awards.
Oh, the fucking Bill Clinton kid. God damn. Yeah. God. I forgot that. That was. It's such a shame that was during Miyazaki's moment too.
I know.
Like,
well, I mean,
that's like half the reason people.
Yeah.
Remember that, but yes, that was so strange. And have you seen like the memes of that kid showing up everywhere?
No.
Are you serious?
Is he everywhere?
Man, you gotta spend more time on Twitter, dude. Like people's new favorite things is like finding videos that are totally unrelated to him and picking him out in the background.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's weird. Like he's like everywhere. like if there's at some point in a major sporting event, if a Jumbotron is showing the crowd, there is like a 50-50 chance he's in it.
That's really funny.
It's fucked up. So I don't know. He must have some rich family. He's just jet setting around the world to be at the most events he could possibly
Right.
be in. So
Yeah.
but it's interesting. I don't know. People also apparently found like
Uh-huh.
some video of him as a kid. Like he was apparently already famous kind of from some other like viral event, like when he was much younger, like unrecognizably younger. But I don't remember what it is off the top of my head now. But he has like an origin story at this point. Like it's starting to get weird. Like we're getting into like Batman villain territory. Like
Yeah, so he's got a lot of lore to unpack.
Like, he does. Yeah, he really does. There's a lot. Yeah. I don't feel like digging into it too much, but there is like a ton of like 4 days ago Reddit post. What is the deal with this kid? I keep seeing things about this kid popping up in random spots, and apparently he has been for years. He's an IRL troll whose young age gives him leniency with influencers and celebrities. Apparently he's been doing this since actually BlizzCon in 2019 was a notable one. So before the Elden Ring thing, he was already kind of well known. Yeah, I don't know. There's like a video of him out there saying that the reason he does it is because he wants to remind like people, like celebrities and people who think they're important, that they're not actually that important.
Interesting.
Yeah, like he's like, yeah, you guys are just as accessible to being fucked with as anybody, like kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally true.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's proving a fact that I don't think anybody was refuting.
Yep,
you can fuck with people even if they're famous or popular.
It's true. They're not above being fucked with, that's for sure. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're probably right. I bet we'll get a release date for Elden Ring DLC. It will be, I'm going to guess, end of 2023.
Wouldn't it be awesome if that kid is like, he walks out on stage and he's like, and now the Elden Ring DLC trailer. Like, you know, Jeff like brings him on.
That would never happen, only because Jeff Keighley is not cool. Like, I have never...
Did you see what he posted on Twitter that night? He was like, that kid got arrested. Get fucked, nerd. It was like...
He was so butthurt.
So happy.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Justice.
Like, Jeff Keighley... It's a shame that Jeff Keighley is our industry representative at this point. Like, basically the most notable games personality, because he is the most youth pastor...
Yeah, bro.
Of any games media persona that's physically... Like, I would take anyone. Almost anyone over him. Like give it to somebody. What there's even plenty of other Jeffs.
Yeah, right.
We got Jeff Gersman. Already better. He just needs to get, he needs to get back in the limelight a little bit. He's fallen off after the giant bomb situation.
Let's get the Jeff from Survivor.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't there who's the kind of funny guy again? Greg
would be a way better Jeff. I just want to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
That would be a way better option.
Yeah, he changed his name to Jeff. He could be another Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Miller.
Yeah, Greg's a pretty good one. There's even another Greg Kasavin, who he was the founder, not founder, but he was managing editor of GameSpot in the 90s, and then he went on to be the leader of the fucking Hades studio. What are they called again?
Oh, really? Supergiant?
Yeah, Supergiant. He was one of the founding members of Supergiant. He's the lead writer of Supergiant.
I didn't know
that. Yeah, so, or at least used to be. I mean, definitely still there. Definitely still one of the founders, but I don't know if he's still like kind of the main writer on a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah.
he was the reason, one of the reasons that Bastion came together in the way that it did. I mean, games are a team effort, but obviously
Yeah.
the writing of Bastion is a big deal in why that game is so good. Who else we got? I don't know. Pick anyone. Give it to anyone. Who do we not even like that much?
I think they already picked the one I don't like.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But he's getting the job done. At least he's doing a good job at his job.
I guess.
He's pulling things together.
He is.
Making stuff happen.
Tune into Summer Games Fest. Get that youth pastor energy on your television. So, like, stomach all the Jeff Keighley so you can see whatever fucking new Call of Duty they have. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we've been playing. I don't think there's any other news really.
Yeah, that's fine. I've been watching. I've been watching a lot lately.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I watched all of Succession.
Nice.
In like a very small period of time because I was sick.
Yep.
That was awesome. I'm just going to do a brief overview of things I watched real quick, and then we can talk about whatever. I watched those Tales of the Jedi episodes about Count Dooku.
Okay.
I watched the new Mandalorian. Yeah, the Count Dooku episodes are good.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they're short too. It's not like you're going to be there a while. They're like 15 minutes each. So
okay.
Yeah, they're really short YouTube video length, basically.
It's a shame that it's impossible to get Christopher Lee back in for that because unfortunately he has passed. But
yeah,
how's their Christopher Lee sound alike?
It doesn't sound like Christopher Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. I don't know. It's like a believable Dooku, I guess is the best way I can put it. But it's not like it's not like they're trying to sound like Christopher Lee. It's like they're just trying to sound like, I don't know. You know how Dooku kind of has that accent, I guess, that's kind of specific to him. It's not just like, I mean, I guess you could say what Christopher Lee sounds like, but that's not exactly what I mean.
Yeah, he's got kind of like a posh evil villain voice. I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely someone just doing that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about saying. It's just like evil villain voice, but I was like, does that really explain what I mean? But
Christopher Lee's version of Dooku and Saruman are not that different. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're different, but they're not that different.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did I just watch? Oh yeah, I was talking to you about this yesterday, but Top Gun Maverick, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that a lot.
I like that one as well.
I almost watched what's it called? All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yep.
I almost watched that, but then I watched something else instead. What was it? I don't know. Maybe it was Top Gun. I can't remember. But yeah, I've been watching stuff. What have you been doing?
I haven't really been watching stuff, although I did catch up on the one episode of Succession that I had not seen yet, which was the newest one.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. That show, I think the interesting thing about that show is they're ending it at the perfect time because I am already kind of over it, I think. I think I'm done. I think
this season didn't need to happen. I think they have already gone past the point of like they've sort of already, I don't know. They're just doing the same thing every season. Like, I don't know if it's just because I just watched it all so I can see it so clearly, but they're literally just doing the same thing. They try to take the fucking company from the dad and then he wins. And so, yeah, this most recent episode, I think, is the first time where they got the thing he was trying to get, and so
But even
okay,
then,
now
they did it in a way that it's not hard to see that it was completely the stupidest possible move anyone could make. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like he wanted to buy it to do something very specific with it that was going to be way more profitable, and so them buying it just to buy it is going to end up being a huge mistake. Like,
yeah.
so either way, you can tell it's going to end up being a mistake no matter what the reason is, and
Yeah.
ultimately the dad is still going to be on top. And it's just like, y'all are literally just doing the same thing. Like, let one of the other characters win and then let the dad beat them. It's not that complicated. Just do anything else. But other than that, the show is really good. But
I mean, yeah, it's kind of, it's more about the minute to minute performances
Yes,
than it is the
for
overall
sure.
plot of that show. But
for sure.
I mean, there is a moment in which that show could and I anticipate this is what's going to happen. It will go off the rails at some point this season, and things will take a huge different turn because they're free to do that because they've acknowledged that it's the final season, so they could just
I
be
don't
like,
think
"Hey,
they're going to do it.
I think they're going to do it. I do think that it's
I
not going to
th-
be like." So let me frame out, I guess, more what I mean, which is like off the rails for a show like this, because
Yeah.
let's go back. You've seen Mad Men or no?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It does this much better.
Mad Men
It gives me
does.
similar vibes. Yeah, it does what this show does, but much better.
I agree. I mean, Mad Men is a superior show to Succession in every conceivable way. But
100%.
let's
It makes
just
me want to rewatch Mad Men.
It
honestly.
does.
Yeah.
It is a very Mad Men show for sure. So let's take it. I mean, obviously, but different, right? Succession is successful because it plays off of our modern sensibilities about what's funny about this kind of life and what's ridiculous about being rich in 2023 or whatever, right? I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mad Men's more of a period piece, but I mean, they have similar meanings behind them, right? The interesting thing that I think, remember, I don't know if you were watching Mad Men as it was coming out.
No, it was after it finished.
So I jumped on probably around season 4 or so with Mad Men. So I caught up. I did the thing where I watched all the 3 seasons, and then I started watching season, I think it was like 4, 5, and 6. I think 6 was the last season for Mad Men or something like that. So I watched like the last couple of seasons as they were coming out. And there was something interesting that was happening where people, like Mad Men, it was exactly like Succession, like what you're saying, where they're like the same kind of shit is happening over and over again, right? Sort of, except it was still, really enjoyable in Mad Men, but it was kind of like,
well,
there wasn't a lot of.
If I can jump in real quick, I think in Mad Men, you genuinely don't know when a character is going to win or lose or like get the leg up or get stooped down a level from the other characters. Like, whereas in Succession, you basically fucking know at this point the dad is going to come out on top. And I don't think they're going to change that. I think at the end of the season, he's going to be on top or dead. Like, but
sure. I'll say this. Don Draper is the dad of Mad Men, which is that no matter who wins or loses, Don Draper always wins. That's
almost. He doesn't though. He doesn't always win. Sometimes, even if he's like got a job or isn't like homeless, like he's not always winning. Like he loses.
But that's sort of the point of the show, right? It's the emotional and existential idea of winning versus actually practically winning. And it's the same with Succession. Logan Roy wins all the time, finger quotes, but in the same way Don Draper does. He wins in the sense that other people see him as successful and enviable and in a position to be admired, and they suck up to him all the time, or they hate him for the same reasons. But the reality is that he is existentially and personally unfulfilled in the same way that Don Draper was throughout that entire show. And that's the point of both of those shows, is kind of painting that level of like abandoning things at like the cost of your person.
I guess it just goes back to me thinking Mad Men does it way better.
It does. Like, I mean,
I guess they're doing the same thing, but I mean,
Succession I want to see what the end of Succession is, but
same.
I think the main thing with Mad Men is like by season 6, people were so desperate for something really off the wall to happen that they were just theory like crafting all of these fucking insane possible endings. Of course, the one that was like literature 101 style ending writing was all the fan theories that he was going to throw himself off of a building because the intro to Mad Men is that character falling off of a building. Just dumb shit like that. But everybody was basically coming up with insane things that could happen that were never, ever going to happen. But they were so desperate for like off the wall shit that they were just making up stuff that could I don't know. I mean, some crazy shit like, he's going to kill someone or whatever. I don't know. Just like stuff that would never happen in the reality of that show. Succession is kind of the same right now, is that theoretically anything could happen just to make it more interesting. But what is actually going to happen is going to be much more mundane. But I do still think that there is the possibility for the show to surprise you in the same way that Mad Men did. Because I think the most surprising thing about Mad Men was that the last season of that show was very different, but in a way that's so subtle and so interesting that it made it a better show because of it. Like Don being on the road for basically the last leg of that show, basically on the run from his job, like trying desperately not to work and just out there figuring out who he is. That is the kind of thing that makes Mad Men an interesting show. And like all of the other characters being like, what the fuck happened to Don Draper? And no one knowing, and there being almost no closure for a lot of that stuff. That's what makes Mad Men a good show, is the willingness to do things like that. And I think Succession has an opportunity to do similar stuff. Will they? I fucking don't know. I think they should.
They won't.
I think they could, but
I'm calling it now. The fucking kids are going to be back and forth with the dad over who knows what. And then at the end, literally either the dad is going to fucking win and, I don't know, tell him to fuck off, or they'll come together and suck his dick, or he's going to die. And that's that. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe the last episode is about figuring out who actually succeeds. What I hope happens is that he dies soon. And then that's kind of what the season is about. Who is the successor and how they have to deal with his death. Or maybe it becomes clear that he's going to die and they're all trying to figure out what to do about his death with him still there.
I think in episode 1 of this season, death would have been an interesting start.
I agree. Especially because it started with his birthday. I was like, please kill him. Please fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Or was his birthday the finale of last season?
No, it was the episode 1. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I hope they go off the fucking rails, quote unquote, in this season and do different things, but I just don't see it.
Yeah. Trying to think. Did we talk about the Black Phone the last time we talked? I watched the Black Phone, the Ethan Hawke horror movie.
It's a great movie
about kids being kidnapped. I really liked it as well. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I also liked that director's other movie, Sinister.
Yes,
very recommended. Both of those, Ethan Hawke in both of them, and he's excellent in both. He basically carries both of those movies, in my opinion. Although the kid in Black Phone was really good. The main kid, he was a good actor.
Good. Yeah, he was good.
I usually do not like children in movies overall. I think they are a weak point in many pieces of media in terms of performance quality. But in this, I think all the kids were pretty good. I think his sister was a little bit weaker.
Yeah, I have a higher suspension for disbelief for child actors because children are awkward and weird and stupid in real life. So whatever they could do on screen is just like believable for me because
it's true.
Kids are unpredictably fucking dumb and weird, anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, like the thing about a movie,
whenever
like
kids are very capable in movies, like very, 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 very capable, which this kid almost hits that mark.
Yeah.
Except they sort of set up and explain everything he does very well.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, he couldn't have figured this out on his own or without this very specific reason they've explained well.
No. Yeah, so it's all believable.
It's not like this kid is just fucking a MacGyver in this situation. It all makes sense. But Super 8, have you ever seen that movie?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. All the kids basically doing the things that all the adults in that situation should have done is just super weird for me. That's super unbelievable. And in my opinion, makes that movie really bad because it's just not the kids are doing a bad performance, but it's just not believable that a handful of children in a town full of adults are going to do the thing that all the adults theoretically would have done, but they just wanted the
Sure.
kids to be the characters for some. I don't know. It's just weird.
I haven't seen Super 8 since I saw it in theaters, like the day it came out. So I could not tell you, but I do remember enjoying that movie. But I'll say I think the ways that movie
It's enjoyable.
like believability is usually not my chief concern when I'm watching something. It's more about the like believability within the context of the universe or this type of story they're telling. So Super 8 is like a monster movie, right? I mean, it's like whatever. I don't know.
It's like
Who cares what's
grounded though. It's
believable?
not like
Grounded in reality with
it's not
giant
like
monsters.
it's not like a fucking anime. Like it's not absolutely crazy off the wall stuff happening. Like it's supposed to be like this grounded, hyper realistic monster like movie. You know what I mean? Like I forget if they're
Sure.
coming from space or whatever it is, but it's like it's all trying to make sense in the physics and reality of our world present day at that time. So it's just like at least that's how I remember it. I don't know. I guess I haven't watched it since release. And honestly, I thought it was good. It was just one of those things where that's when I don't like child actors is when
Yeah.
their role doesn't really make sense. Like the performance itself, I can usually get over.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah.
back to Black Phone.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring that up quickly.
Okay.
I watched that a couple weeks ago and liked it. I haven't been watching much. I did actually. I'll say this: I watched the first 2 episodes of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the anime. Did you watch that?
Yeah, I watched it.
That show is really good.
Yeah. I want you to finish it before I talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll
I liked it a lot though. Was that the one done by Trigger?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Studio
it was.
Trigger?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't pay attention to the credits, but I'm pretty. It has the look of a Trigger show. So
yeah. That show is God, yeah. I don't want to say anything just because I don't want to potentially spoil what happens, but I really like choices they made, even though it's like I guess I don't want to say anything, but I like it. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Good
pretty
journey.
It's pretty clear. I think if the style of universe that Cyberpunk is, it's pretty clear that every character you like is going to go down horribly. Like I feel like that's just how that universe is. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm open. I'm open to being surprised.
Yeah. I guess what I'll say is I just don't think characters made decisions that made sense. But what I actually think, like, it's just not a decision I would make if I were a person like living in that city. But in reality, those characters are just stupid, I guess. Like, they're fucking, they're cyberpunks. Like, they're punks on the street getting fucking technology shoved up their ass and, going and doing Grand Theft Auto type shit. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not like the
what
first
do I
thing I
expect
would
them to do,
It's not like the first thing I would do if I got a brand new spine is go to my high school and beat the shit out of my bully. Like that's not the first thing I would do if I was in that position, but it makes sense that that's the first thing he would do. So
right. And so there's a lot of things like that where it's just like, okay, well, I wouldn't have done that, but it makes sense that he would have done that. And there's a lot of that, and not a knock against the show at all, but yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I'm excited to watch more. Might do that while I'm traveling this week. What else? Yeah, I didn't watch much, but I did play.
Yes.
One thing in particular, I completed over the last, let's say, I don't know, 7-8 days since its release. Has it been? No, has it been slightly longer now? No, it's been about, I don't know what, 9 days, 8 days. Yeah,
roughly. Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 Remake. I did finish it. I don't think we're going to talk a lot in detail about it because you haven't had the chance to play it yet, or the original, which means that what we really need to do is I need to go back and play the original, and then we need to have like a full discussion, like a whole episode dedicated to this once you've gotten through it. But I think just to tie a bow on impressions of that game, it is easily a Game of the Year contender. For me, and I imagine a lot of other people. I think the gameplay of that is... Did you play Resident Evil 2 Remake?
I've never played a Resident Evil.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, boy, this would be a funny one to start with too. But
I
I,
don't do
th-
well with scary games.
I yeah, I mean it is scary, but it's scary in manageable ways. I think that's the thing for me that I've never I've never liked horror games like I don't know. Like we'll say
Let me
Amnesia.
explain.
Amnesia the Dark
Yeah.
Descent, I think, is a game that is extremely scary, and it's scary because they give you no tools to deal with things that you're scared of. The point of that game is to avoid the scary things or run away from the scary things, hide, which to me is terrifying in a way that is unmanageable. Like Alien Isolation was the same way for me. I thought that game was hard to deal with because for a while you have very limited tools to deal with. I hear it changes by the end, but you have very limited tools to deal with the alien in a way that just means you're hiding in a locker, waiting for it to go away, kind of thing. And I don't like that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something.
Yeah. It's like really rough for me. Like I didn't even the first time I tried to play BioShock, I didn't play it because it was too scary.
I would say Bioshock is pretty unsettling. I don't think
Yeah.
that's weird at all. I mean, at least
But that's not like a scary game either. You know what I mean?
I'd call it
Like
a
I
horror
don't
game. I would call it a horror game. Yeah.
I don't think I would.
I
But it
mean,
is just creepy.
I think
And
that
I
game
think
is,
Resident Evil is like a horror game series.
but to different degrees. Like I would say Resident Evil 4 is BioShock 1 creepy.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Like
exactly. Yes.
and
That is my
maybe
point.
like yeah. Yeah. I Because like I think Bioshock One, at least through Fort Frolic, is a pretty unenjoyable. Like not because it's not fun, but unenjoyable in terms of tensity. Like it's very like um you feel uneasy playing through at least the first half of Bioshock One before you really come to grips with like I mean medical is pretty terrifying. I mean there's like whole ass like horror moments in medical that's like like I remember very vividly the splicer in the like whenever you have the I think is it like in the dentist area or something where you like crawl under a thing and there's like it's like very smoky in there and like fog is filling your screen and then the minute the fog clears there's a guy right in like a splicer right in your face like they do like some fucked up shit like that
Yeah.
there's some or like in Fort Frolic is it that the statues um it is Fort Frolic, right? They look like plaster
I
statues, but then
forget.
they move.
Yeah, I forget
Actually,
where, but yeah, I know what you
um,
mean.
I would say Bioshock is pretty successfully creepy, and I think Resident Evil is very similar in that there's ups and downs in the series and in the individual games of what parts are scary. Like Resident Evil 2, for instance, overall that game is not very scary, but Mr. X is terrifying. You know what I mean? Like, and for some people, he's not scary at all. But for me, the feeling of being chased by something I can't kill is like the most terrifying thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. No, I just don't handle those types of things well. Like it's the reason I've never played Resident Evil 7 is just because I don't think I could.
that game seems. I haven't played that game either. That game seems crazy.
Yeah, I just don't think I could play that game. And what's another example?
But like
Uh
Village seems more manageable, right? It's more like ups and downs. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
you
Village
have
maybe seems more manageable. The beginning seems pretty spooky, so it's hard to say. But I do think it becomes more actiony as it goes on. But
yeah, yeah.
like I'm shocked I've played Dead Space 1 the original. Like I can't believe I did that. And that was really hard for me to do. And I can't believe I've played PT either. That was really hard for me to do.
Yeah, I mean
That's
that's
like I don't know how I played PT. I was freaking out the whole time though. I was like constantly having an anxiety attack.
I mean I would say that playing is a generous term for what PT is. But yeah, I get what you mean.
I'm in control of a character and I don't know what's going to happen. Like
Sure.
I don't know how long this experience is. I don't know what I really need to do, and I don't know when I'm going to die or get the shit scared out of me.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean, I
know
think
what action I take is going to be rewarding or punishing. Like it's horrifying.
I think when PT came out, it was one of the scariest forms of a playable thing that could possibly exist. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, right.
especially
Exactly.
at that time, it was, I think games have gone on to do a lot of the same things that game does, but, or that demo does. But I think PT as an experience, when it was like the night it came out, that was the scariest thing, that, especially the fact that you're not safe in the pause screen.
I don't know if I knew that. I don't think I ever paused.
If you leave it paused for a really long time. So like at one point I paused the game because it was like the night it came out, and I was reading impressions or like what people were trying or what people were doing. Like we hadn't figured out how to complete it, right? So
Right.
I was like reading through, like live reading basically on like Twitter and different forums like Reddit, what people were trying to get through it. And I remember being on my phone and reading it, and the game unpausing itself so I could get killed by Lisa. Like that pause, like it turns out in the pause, like it figures out when you're in the pause screen, and if you're stationary for too long, it still kills you anyway. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, that game, I would agree that, I mean, that's an example of something that I think toes the line pretty well, because obviously you have no weapons and there's nothing you can do, but there's still you have some agency, right? There's still actions you can take. There's still things you can do to not die.
It's like a horror puzzle game.
Yeah,
is what that hallway was. It was like, what do I need to do to progress, and how do I not die?
Yeah. I think Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space are companion pieces. I mean, they came out obviously only a few years apart, and a lot of people say that the reason Dead Space exists is because Resident Evil 4 came out, which I think is true.
They are kind of similar, huh? Yeah.
They're basically the same thing. I mean, the reality is they're original Dead Space and original Resident Evil 4. The only difference is that in Dead Space you could move and shoot at the same time. I mean, other than that, they're almost the same game. I mean, they have similar structure, similar types of challenges, very light puzzle solving, but overall, I would say they're focused on the action portion of survival horror. I think the one thing about Resident Evil 4 is that by the end of that game, it has ramped up so considerably that it's hilarious.
Okay. Is that true in the remake?
It's even more true in the remake. They lean into it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. But Resident Evil 4 remake is scarier than original Resident Evil 4, that's for sure. And part of that is just because it's new and shiny, and new graphics make things scarier. I mean, that's just true. But also it's because they've learned the lessons that horror games have had to teach in the whatever almost 20 years since original Resident Evil 4 came out. They found ways to make things that weren't scary before a little bit scarier, which is interesting. But I mean, I think a couple things. One, I mean, play it in Discord with somebody, because especially if you're streaming it for somebody, it does make it a lot easier to tolerate.
It's the only way I'd be able to play any type of game like that is in the presence of somebody else. I would not be able to play a game like that by myself. It's impossible.
Yeah. I played through the first half alone, and I'll say that it is a different experience for sure. I think it makes things a lot more intense. Yeah,
I genuinely can't do it. That would be impossible for me to play a game like that without someone to fucking bounce my anxiety out like off of.
Yeah. I'll say I played through one of the scariest boss fights alone, and then immediately after that, B-Paul jumped in the other night, and I played through probably the next 4 or 5 hours of that game with B-Paul, and then eventually Merced jumped in as well.
Yeah.
I think I was very lucky because they were there for what I would consider the scariest part of that game. So I ended up kind of coasting through that a little bit easier than I would otherwise. Although they definitely still saw me. Like, I remember at one point, B-Paul goes, "I'm glad I wasn't in control there," because it was just that bad. Like it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I respect it when people say like they don't like that kind of stuff, especially in video game form, because you do have to be in control. I
Yeah.
mean, you are the driving force behind it, and it is, I think, truly. I don't say this lightly, I guess, but I think of all possible genres, horror makes more sense as a video game or an interactive medium than any other genre. Like, to me, for video games, horror is the defining genre of what video games can be because you experience everything alongside the character in a way that is truly interesting. It's something that I think movies cannot do. And don't get me wrong, I love horror movies for a lot of reasons, but for video games, it is the definitive thing about what a game can be is a horror thing. Now, I'll say
Yeah.
this. I think for you, as somebody who's a Souls fan, you've already experienced what horror really is kind of beneath the surface.
I think I agree in the sense that horror in video games is the most intense experience you can have. It's like the most it's dialed all the way up, at least when it's done right. But I don't know, like anything that triggers like an emotional response really with a video game, that's like where they shine, is when they pull that off, because you are that character more so than when you're like watching something.
It's true, but I think
Horror is like much more intense.
Yeah, I think it's also just unique in that like I'll use I don't know, something as silly as Mass Effect, right, as an example. Like Mass
Right.
Effect, I think is one of my favorite games. Not even I think, it is one of my favorite games ever. There is nothing about Mass Effect that is uniquely good in the way that a 40 episode TV show of just Mass Effect couldn't also be the same level of good, right? I mean, like,
No, I disagree.
I don't know. I mean, the problem people always say about Mass Effect 1 is that they don't like the gameplay. And I think that, I mean, I disagree. I like the gameplay of Mass Effect 1, but the reality is that the thing that's carrying me through that game is the story and the characters and the narrative. And
That you have agency over. That's why I disagree. You make decisions, especially in terms of the character interactions. In the overall story, your decisions end up not mattering that much, but
yeah,
specifically on the character interaction level, that's when your decisions matter the most, and why I would disagree.
yeah, but that stuff is so meaningless in Mass Effect. I mean, I agree. Like, I'm a huge
I
BioWare
guess it's all about
fan,
it's all about how much you get into that role play aspect of it then. But
Yeah.
that is a big part of why I like BioWare games, is not because they're good video games, is because I get lost in the role play.
Yeah,
of
that's
it all.
fair. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
Disco Elysium, that's for sure. Like, I don't think you could make a show
Yeah,
of
but
Disco Elysium. But
that's where, I agree, but I wish there was like almost a show version of Disco Elysium. Not that there's no agency, but I almost wish it was more something I'm watching and making the decisions
sure, yeah.
instead of what it is. But yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's the thing about Disco Elysium, is that there's no way to do that well. Like as a, I mean, not that
Right.
there's no way, but
Not yet.
the
Yeah.
ways in which it is a video game is what makes that thing interesting. Whereas like Mass Effect could be interesting in other mediums as well. Like, could be enjoyable.
Yeah.
in
Oh
video
yeah,
games.
for sure.
It's kind of like The Last of Us, right? I mean, they really it's the defining example of that, which is that nothing about The Last of Us needs to be a video game. I think it's better as a
Right.
video game, but there's nothing
Yeah.
about it that needs to be that way. And I do think that that's true for a lot of games.
Yeah.
But I think uniquely, I don't know, horror has a interesting position in which it can be the best version of itself. As a game. But so I don't know. So I'll say this. I think playing Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all those games have actually made me stomach horror a lot better as a game.
Hmm.
Because some of those games are the most tense and the most horrified I've ever felt in gaming. The most unprepared, the most thrown into a situation I don't want to be in. Like, I don't know, fucking half of Bloodborne or
Yeah,
half of
Bloodborne
Demon Souls.
definitely maybe is kind of like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the Souls games that I just like. Something in my brain always like kind of understands that I can win. I might not win. I might die at any given moment, but something in my brain just understands that like I have the fight or flight power in me to like make it through whatever moment.
Sure.
And it like I don't know. I definitely have the reactions similar to like horror games in the Dark Souls games, but the part of my like brain that it's triggering just like passively as I'm playing it isn't like my anxiety fearful part of my brain.
Yeah.
It's like some other cautious like tense part where I'm still like tense, like gripping and like,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing, but it's something about just like the idea of playing a Souls game or the idea of playing like Resident Evil 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or like the new
Well,
Dead Space remake or RE4 remake. Like those are, I'm so, I don't know. It's hard for me to like do that,
so I'll
boot up
say
those games and play them.
I think Resident Evil 4 is that. It is 90% that. It's 90% you're tense but you can deal with it. It's the 10% and where they choose to insert that 10% that keeps you on your toes. Like there are
Yeah,
random moments
right.
where
Exactly.
it's like you're in trouble now and you're like, "Oh, fuck,
Yeah.
I'm feeling it." You know, like but
Yeah.
otherwise overall it's a lot of the Souls style. Okay, I'm entering an arena now and I have to deal with this situation um in a way that's manageable in terms of resources and all this stuff. It's literally a Souls game. So I'm sure there's plenty of Resident Evil fans out there who want to shoot me in the face by saying that. But anyway, um, yeah, it's Resident Evil 4 is an amazing, amazing achievement for video games. Not even just as a remake, just as all the lessons that they learned from the original Resident Evil 4, from every game they've made since then. It feels a lot like Resident Evil 2 Remake, which was already like an amazing game, and they've even managed to make it better than that. Um, I mean, they're different, so it's not necessarily even a fair comparison, but the gameplay systems in place here are just so fucking satisfying.
Yeah.
The knife parry system is some of the most brilliant shit I've ever experienced in a video game. I think I want you to play it. I think I want everybody to play it. Like
Yeah. I think I will eventually.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, Dead Space Remake also. I think this is better than Dead Space Remake personally. That was a really fucking good game too. I mean, two games that I was glued to the end. Like, really hated having to step away from both of those games, but
Yeah.
there's something about Resident Evil 4 Remake that is more compelling. It's also more different than the original than Dead Space Remake is. Like, there's some subtle things about Dead Space Remake. Level design and layout and the way the ship is designed is a bit smarter, but overall, it sort of fits into your brain the way you remember it. Resident Evil 4, there were a lot of moments where I was like, I have no idea where the fuck this even was in the original game anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can move on. I think until I have somebody to bounce off of, I think I don't want to go over the top with my experience of this game. I'll just say like I think I love the casting of the characters, the visual design of it. Everything feels good. It looks really nice. It runs a little dodgy on PC, but whatever.
Yeah.
Sound design is amazing. The one thing I think that's a big miss is the save room music doesn't happen in the rooms where the typewriter is anymore. It only happens at the typewriter itself, which you're only in for about 30 seconds. So it's a disappointment because I think that music's fucking great. the original Resident Evil 4 save room music was like a respite from hell that you need. And in this, you don't get that as much. Yeah, I mean, the side quests are great. I got the achievement for doing all the side quests, which according to Steam, only 7% of players have done. Shame on all of you.
I think the audience has spoken.
Yep. Yeah, they were like, we don't want to deal with this bullshit, which I understand.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's got me really interested in what a Resident Evil 5 remake looks like.
It'll have to happen, right?
I mean,
and it'll probably be pretty good, right?
You know what?
Will they add the co-op?
That could really be our next co-op game.
5 original?
Yeah.
Is it on Game Pass or something? I don't want to buy that. No chance.
I honestly, I do not know. I don't think so. That's a good question.
Might be on Sony Game Pass. Resident Evil is not on Game Pass.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. It's a really fucking old game.
They don't own Capcom yet?
No, yeah, it's coming next.
It is like a 360 game, huh?
It's a 360 game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played through. Apparently, they've added achievements since I played it last time. The last time I played Resident Evil 5, I played through it with Tran, March 18th, 2015.
Nice.
Which, in my head, sounds like not that long ago, but I'm looking at the calendar and realizing it's 2023. That was a long fucking time ago.
Yeah.
And then we went on 2 months later to play 5.3 hours of Resident Evil 6, which I kind of hated. Yeah.
So, what about Wild Hearts, though? Surely you're not done, right?
I mean, I'm not done. But we do need to start thinking about. We need to start thinking about what's next. You know what I mean?
Seems like you're done. This is the kind of words someone that would be done would be saying.
All right, everybody, settle down.
Sounds like you're done.
Not done. Just I'm thinking about what else. I mean, at this point, our play sessions of Wild Hearts are only going to get shorter and shorter. I mean, we're
He's done, guys. Title of this episode is going to be "I'm done with Wild Hearts."
No, I don't do those clickbait YouTube titles with a guy going and holding up a game case or photoshopping in a game case, and he's like, "Wild Hearts sucks my dick without asking," and then
is Half-Life actually good?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, Half-Life raped my father and killed my mother. Yeah, it's. We'll play more. We probably will today, because after talking about it, I do want to get back in there and just fucking get done with that bird.
Yeah, we'll see.
But now I'm in the horror zone all of a sudden. I'm back in, baby. I'm like, should I play Resident Evil 7? Can I do it? You
can do it, dude.
I definitely want to play Village, but I feel like that's all I got. That's it. I think we'll talk about Signalis next time.
Yeah.
I mean, were you paying attention at all during that?
I was playing Magic, but I would look over when it wasn't my turn, but I didn't really know what the fuck was going on. So I was watching, but I wasn't paying attention. So what was happening? Or do you want to talk about it next time?
No, we can talk about it. Well, it's funny because you asking me what was happening, I couldn't tell you, and I was paying attention the whole time. I mean, Signalis seems to be one of those games that's trying to be very obtuse with its storytelling in a way that it's very there's a lot of like metaphor and like what's real and what's not real, and that kind of thing. What is literal? But I think the interesting thing about Signalis is that it is such a unique, refreshing presentation, and I would say the gameplay is good but not great. And if you that will your affection for it will depend on how much you like old Resident Evil and old Silent Hill games. Um, I would say it's a
I
little
see.
bit more forgiving than that, but it's got like tank style controls. It's got like a very slow and deliberate combat system. Enemies, when you kill them, they eventually will get back up, just like Resident Evil One, unless you burn the bodies. So there is very much there's a lot of puzzle solving. There's a lot of like interacting with the environment and finding
The
resources.
camera is stuck.
Yeah, fixed camera. Lots of inventory management. You only have 6 inventory slots, I guess, for the whole game. I mean, at least so far. But it's the way in which all of these pieces come together. It's got like PS1 style graphics. It feels a lot better than those old games, so it's added those elements in a really clever way that makes it work in a 2023 context. And the
Yeah.
story is engaging and smart enough. Like it's written better than most big budget horror games, that's for sure. I mean, it's the say what you will about Silent Hill and how good the story of those games was, they were not subtle. This is like if you took Silent Hill and made it a little bit more, well, I don't know, some Silent Hill fan out there, Sean, is fucking wishing death on me right now, but it's not that they're not subtle, it's just that they're subtle in their own way. Like the characters in Silent Hills, 1 and 2 are a little bit over the top. There's like some over the top cult stuff and like whatever, in a way that's like fun. This is a lot more like there's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of,
Yeah.
moments where you're definitely sure what's happening. So,
Yeah.
But Signalis seems cool. It's a little indie game. I think it was like, maybe $15 or $20 on Steam. Visually, I think it is one of the most confident presentations of any game I've played in recent memory. And, AAA, indie, whatever. I mean, it just has such an identity to it that you can't help but be drawn in. But it is a slow burn, for sure. It's very interested in making you wait for story bits and like what, I don't know, I'll say like it even takes a while to get going in terms of gameplay. Like it's not interested in really like immediately throwing you in. It wants to build tension. So it seems cool.
Yeah.
It seems cool. I'm gonna keep playing more of that as well. That's probably gonna be my main focus when we're not playing Wild Hearts.
Which he's definitely not done with.
Which is all the time because we're fucking done. No, no, I don't know. Anything else? What do you? Anything else you wanted to cover? You feeling good? We can make it a short one. I mean, I don't. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't have much to say this week. I meant to bring it up yesterday and be like, yeah, I don't really have much on mind, but I was still down to do it. So,
you know what, man? It's about the consistency. All right. It's about, I mean,
it is easier to stay consistent that way.
So I think,
just keep going.
I think there will be ups and down times. We do need to get back to our character list. We're going to ask some more people about that. We also, I think, we could come up with some fun exercises.
What,
yeah.
What are, just out of curiosity, what is like, in your opinion, the top 3 Star Wars movies? for you?
Okay. I mean, top 3 is going to be the original trilogy, just in a different order than how they came out. But I
So
mean,
you would say for sure the original trilogy?
I mean, and then 4th would be like Rogue One. But
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
I would say they're in there. So it would be Return of the Jedi is my favorite, then Star Wars, and then Empire, and then Rogue One,
That's
and then
interesting.
maybe Episode 3,
Yeah, good choice.
and then like Solo,
Wow. Interesting.
and then like maybe Phantom Menace,
Uh-huh.
and then probably the new trilogy in some order. Maybe 1, 2, 3, and then last is Clone Wars.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, or sorry, Attack of the Clones. Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
that makes sense.
that's way more than you asked for, but there you go. That's the full list.
No, that's fine. I was actually going to ask for that, but I was like, fuck it, I'll just limit it to top 3.
Did I forget any movies?
I don't know. Maybe. Top 3 is the hard part for me. I think in some order though, it's Revenge of the Sith, The Last Jedi, and then it's tough. Those are my top 2 though, probably. Maybe Empire is the other one that's like I don't really know where to put those 3. I think Last Jedi is maybe my favorite Star Wars.
You and I are different Star Wars fans.
Well, we're almost the same, other than the top 3.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah, the sequels are pretty much at the bottom, other than Attack of the Clones, which is at the bottom. Well, see, honestly, Force Awakens is pretty good for me. They just fumbled the bag after that.
Yeah, I would put.
Okay.
Put.
Rise of Skywalker is at the bottom.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah, I mean, I could that and Attack of the Clones are interchangeably at the bottom. So
right. Yeah, that. They're both really bad. And then, so what is next to worst? Oh,
for me, it's your
probably Phantom Menace.
It's the one that is your favorite is my next lowest.
What is wrong with Last Jedi?
That movie, I like half of it a lot.
Which half?
Pretty much the last half. I would say.
All right, so we're on the same page then.
But the first half is so bad that I can't.
Like okay bad because it's slow, or just actually bad?
It's just things about Star Wars I do not like Canto Bight and
okay, Canto Bight is the worst part of the movie.
Canto Bight is easily the worst part of the movie, but it's also, I mean, it's like 15 minutes of that movie. I mean, that's a lot of runtime.
It's like a 3-hour movie.
Let's see. Pretty much all the characterization, like they basically did a 180 on the characters of Finn and the fuck is Oscar Isaac's character again?
Oh, Dameron?
Yeah.
You don't know your own character?
Dude, he became basically meaningless after the first episode. After I can't even remember the names of these movies because they're so mediocre. What's the first one?
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Yeah, Force Awakens. Force Awakens. After that movie, Poe Dameron is no longer a character in those movies. He is just nothing. He is literally nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's basically on the sideline.
He's like a mannequin.
But he looks good.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Finn also. Finn loses all meaning after the first of those movies in a way that I think is a key part of why those movies are ruined. Is that they begin to focus so much on Rey, who unfortunately is the least interesting character of all of the main cast.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
I mean, that's not her fault. She was just written that way. But
yeah, great actress. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley's great. The performance is good. She does what she can with what she's given, but man, that movie
Yeah.
fucking I just Rise of not Rise of Skywalker. That's the third one. The Last Jedi. I like the Luke stuff. I'm fine with it. I think actually his character arc in that movie makes sense for him. I think Adam Driver's character is Kylo Ren is one of the best villains in Star Wars. In that movie in particular, he's ruined in the third one in Rise of Skywalker, but in the Last
Yeah, the
Jedi,
third one is just bad. Yeah.
but in the Last Jedi, I think they set him up as one of the most interesting villains possible in a Star Wars movie. Um, and then they just ruin it. In the first one, he's a little bit generic, but that's okay. It kind of works for that movie. And then in the second one, he becomes the most interesting person in all of those movies. And then by the third movie, no one's interesting. They've just ruined everyone completely, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I think with the exception of Canto Bight, that movie is just really good. Like and even just removing yourself from the plot and the characters, like cinematography in that movie is just phenomenal. Like that is just a fun movie to watch. Like I don't know how much you remember, but like the sequence towards the beginning with like that uh main character, the Asian girl, her sister, like dropping the bombs, like that whole sequence is just fucking awesome. And then the sequence like later on where like the lady like sacrifices herself and like light speeds into the other craft. There's just so many moments that are like, okay, this is just fucking fun to watch. But yeah, and then I like you're saying with Kylo Ren and stuff like that, I like a lot of the character moments.
It is half an amazing movie and half one of the worst movies in the whole series. So for me, it just makes it kind of middle, unfortunately. But yeah,
fine,
I'm sorry.
be that way. No, you're fine.
Sorry. I mean, I can't. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Revenge of the Sith is.
I think that's a great movie.
It's more of a good movie than The Last Jedi is for sure, but it is still similar in that it makes a lot of mistakes, just different mistakes. Unfortunately, George Lucas was obsessed with the idea of making it a Shakespearean play or a tragedy instead of a movie. So it's extremely slow and drawn out, and the dialogue is miserably terrible in a way that is fascinating. But I think I don't know, it's interesting. Jacob is here now, just raising his eyebrows suggestively, lounging on his couch. What's on your shirt?
Jacob convinced me to play Fortnite recently, and it was fun.
This is a Thailand shirt.
Oh shit!
Did you go to Thailand?
No, a guy that I met at the bank went there to bang a bunch of hookers and brought me back a hand-carved wooden dick and then this shirt.
I love that. That's awesome.
I wish I was kidding.
I wish you were too, honestly. That's almost the fact that he's willing to own up to that is probably the most disturbing part of that story.
Oh, he's like 70 and he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I could die tomorrow. Fuck it.
Yeah, fair enough.
He's like, how much can I get out of the ATM there? Should I just take 10 grand cash? Or I was like, take like 5 grand cash and I'll set your withdrawal limit to 1,000 a day. That way you can have fun every day.
Yeah, I mean, $1,000 a day probably buys you the whole country at that point. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that's what he said.
Yeah, stuff is really cheap in Thailand.
Yeah, that's why they love us and they hate us, I think. That entire economy is built on tourism, but also we're ruining it.
Welcome to Florida. I mean, Thailand.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Florida, honestly, same deal. It's like, yo, everybody in Florida subsists off of, what's your cat looking at?
He's just looking out the window. We opened the window for him.
Nice. That's nice. Do you have like a screen?
Yeah.
Stopping him from jumping out? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think he would because I think he's a pussy because he's never been outside unless he's been on a leash.
Yeah.
And I think he realizes that he's pampered and wants to stay indoors. Because, like, every time Mary cleans that litter box, she opens our back door and just leaves it there open while she's scooping out. And he just sits there and watches. So,
All it takes is one moment of bravery, though, and then they're gone forever.
yeah, I've thought about that, but I've never once seen him have a moment of bravery his entire life.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
yeah. My cat's in the same boat. We let him on the fire escape sometimes, and I'm always paranoid that that's going to be it. Like
no, I think it every time I'm watching it, I'm staring at Beanie and like he's about to fucking dart out, and then he's literally just sitting there, like loafed up, no hands, just like not moving. I'm like, leave over.
Yeah. You're like, he may look calm, but on the inside, he's a raging tornado. Like he's ready to go.
Fork, please. What are y'all up to?
Chilling.
Yeah, we're recording, but we're done. We're basically
we're live with the Apollo. I think so. I'm glad I could end this.
Yeah, you're really tying it off with a fun story.
Hey, what can I say? I'm here to help.
That's the role of Jacob. I think we're. It's funny because actually, Crossley and I talked about playing Fortnite after you convinced him to play, and he had a good time. So
yeah,
I think,
dude. I mean, the gritty emotes in the shop, you could literally hit the gritty on somebody right now.
Oh my god! All right, well, the dancing isn't one of the parts I liked. I just think the game is incredibly well designed.
It is. It really is. The gunplay, the designs, the changes they do at like the perfect amount where right when you're like, yeah, it's getting kind of stale, they just sprinkle just enough. Like, logged in yesterday, didn't realize that they added 3 new guns, and they brought back like the old pizza boxes. You can throw down a fucking pizza and everybody can eat a slice and heal up.
I love pizza.
Why? Nobody knows. You just logged in and it was
part of the Ninja Turtles crossover.
Surprisingly, no. But we haven't had a Ninja Turtles crossover yet.
Wait, seriously?
Happen.
I just assumed.
They're popping right now.
I just assumed. Isn't there a Ninja Turtles movie coming out that's made by Seth Rogen?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah,
he's making like a Ninja Turtles anime or something, and I think
he's like really involved with the Ninja Turtles in general these days.
It's coming out really soon.
Huh? I did not know that.
Yeah. And I think it actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's like a bit of a Spider-Verse ripoff, I think, in terms of...
Is that Mary?
Hi, Mary.
Huh? No, it's not Mary.
That's my other bitch.
Oh, Jesus. Who is it? Fuck.
My bitch from Thailand.
Yeah, perfect.
Jerry.
The shirt wasn't empty when I got it. Yeah, she was making some mac and cheese.
Hell yeah.
Damn, dude. Living the dream over there.
Yeah, I try. So we're playing Fortnite today?
Yeah, let's play some Fortnite. Yeah. I mean, especially because there's no way you're going to play Wild Hearts, so I guess that's the only option if we wanted to play video games together.
Honestly, don't even remember Wild Hearts. What does it look like?
It's Monster
Hunter clone that's $70.
Nope, not playing them.
It's $10 if you subscribe to EA Play, which I do. So,
huh?
And I'll tell you what, that subscription comes in handy when I remember it exists and a new EA game comes out, like, let's say Dead Space Remake or Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Honestly,
or the Sims new baby expansion pack. I don't know if you heard about that, but
they didn't have babies before.
No, they did, but they like made it like a thing now. I don't know. I don't.
Oh, now
Sims.
You can be a baby.
You can, yeah, and also like they've added like features to it where you have to spend more time actually raising your child instead of ignoring them while they raise themselves, which is, I mean, how I was raised. So I don't know, but yeah. I think. Yeah. You know, more realistic to more people's experiences being raised by someone.
Can't relate.
Yeah. If it was just the baby on a computer playing video games in 1997, then that would be more accurate to my childhood.
Yeah.
But all right, let's play some Fortnite. We're wrapping this up. turn this recording off before something incendiary happens and I have to actually edit it for once. No, Jacob. No.